Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Namaskar. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India on this December 3rd, 2021 Friday. मैं सूरज सिंह भारत से बोल रहा हूँ, भारत इंडिया से बोल रहा हूँ, सिविल इंजीनियर। आज दिनांक दिसंबर 3, 2021, फ्राइडे, शुक्रवार। और टॉपिक है सुबह के 3:50, अर्ली मॉर्निंग 3:50 AM, एंड सिविल फील्ड इंजीनियरिंग, engineers quality, and of course various contract books like Red, Silver, White, designs, construction methods, contracts, disputes, organizations, communications, and coordination. And why we are always behind quality. Now I'm not alone. I think many of you I think it's better. And this you can say certain competency certificates at national level as well as international level. And this international level is International Professional Engineer Certificate. I am writing India because I am registered on Indian register. My name exists on Indian registered, which Indian body, Institution of Engineers India, head office of which is located at Calcutta, which represents itself as Indian institution on association, or you can say on agreement body, International Professional Engineers Agreement, within which there are about 15 nations around the world. And this is an international body which mandates international register of all professional engineers. International Professional Engineer India means a person who has capability to work at international level in profession of engineering. And it's not easy means it is like properly tested, properly examined, written tests and interviews are conducted for being registered. It's not easy, of course. One should have engineering degree, first level degree, that is called Bachelor of Engineering degree, and then one must have 5 years ordinary experience in engineering and 2 years experience at responsible position. And every 5 years this is valid. Whatever certificate is given is awarded, that is valid only for 5 years. And another 5 years means you have to apply for renewal, and again for renewal, and again for renewal, like that. It is for international professional engineer and for professional engineer. It is also for 5 years validity, but it is different way, means it's not having that large experience requirement. So we can say, this is just for your information, I got my first international professional engineer certification in year 2012, and I got my first professional engineer certification in 1995. And of course, since then I have been on register of professional engineers, and since 2012 on register of International Professional Engineers India. It is just, you can say, kind of classification, and one should have international experience on procedures. One should have knowledge of international codes as well as national codes. One should have, exposure to whole world, how works are done. And I got a difference in my understanding when I worked overseas. If I compared it to our work in this country, our country stood nowhere in systems of quality at that time when I was involved here. And I learned something, you can say, I cannot say I learned a lot. I learned something while associating profession of engineering. It may be designs, or it may be production or execution of works. One has adequate competency. There are three classes for this. One is lowest one, that is called associate member. Another one is middle one, that is called member, and then another one that is called fellow. One is written as AMIE, another one is written as MIE, and then FIE. And all these three classes of membership, which is original or corporate membership of this institution, or you can call it chartered membership, these people can write this title Chartered Engineer India. This is official one, this is chartered one, this is given by union of this country, or you can say by people of this country, and you can say people's representative of this country, and that is president of this country. And this title, this charter is covered or protected under Article 372 of Constitution of this country, because this was awarded by British Parliament through Queen or King of that kingdom. And of course, you can see then it is membership certificate, fellow membership written here. Same way, it is written member as well as associate member. These are corporate members, these are not associated members. And then this file, which I always try to project to you, is about quality and safety. It conveys message to you every day that you should think of, and you should work, and you should recontemplate if you have forgotten about quality system. So that is my initial submission to everyone, that being an engineer, we cannot fall, we cannot climb down into dirty waters, or you can say septic tank. Do you want to work in septic tank, or you want to work in a clean area? That engineer has to decide. If engineer cannot do that, I think there is no alternative. Only profession that keeps clean, hygienic, and away from diseases, that keeps social status, and that is civil engineer, because civil engineer is developer, civil engineer is, you can say, root engineer. Root engineer means without any artificiality, civil engineer works. And civil engineering means original engineering. Without civil engineering, you cannot start from scratch. Civil engineering starts from scratch, and it takes you to terrace of towers. I mean to say, it covers every development part, from your WC to your bathroom, to your home, to your kitchen, to your temple, and then to every part of buildings and roads, and you can say sewer lines, water lines, dams, irrigations, canals, industries, plants, facilities, railways. You can think of whatever work, you shall find that civil engineering is basic requirement. And then quality, which is very important part in life, and we have to achieve quality, which means we have to interact with everyone, not only with everyone but also with ourselves. Communication to oneself and coordination to oneself by oneself are very important. Thank you, Mr. Ashok, for going through. I hope you are fine, and we continue about communication and coordination issue, which is, I think, is very must requirement, first requirement, and of course it is rust requirement and dust requirement, because people don't care for this. I am saying dust and rust, which you should understand. We generally these days do not communicate properly because of various reasons. First is, we are having shortage of writing. We rarely write, and we rarely coordinate, and I am talking for everybody of all ages. Communication has become digital, which means writing has gone into ashtray. or whatever you say. You write, you'll get a call. They will ask you, what's your problem? Well, what to say? Of course, you have a right to be angry because those people do not concentrate on reading, or you may say they are not qualified enough to read. It happens. Unfortunate it is. Our youth, they just want to jump in the sky. They don't want to achieve anything. Communication part is practically missing, and because communication part is missing, this means coordination cannot be worked out. You cannot do coordination. How? Because coordination is very important material. It is a system. It is a system of your own generation. Nobody can teach you how to coordinate. You have to do it yourself. Means you have to stand parallel to everybody to whom you are talking, or you will talk. Means you are a communicator, you are a linker, you are a scrutinizer, you are an investigator, and you keep an eye. A coordinator has to concentrate, coordinator has to keep an eye on every activity, what's going on. That's why I say it's most significant discipline or subject, communication and coordination, never stopping, non-stop the work. No signals are required. They are automatic signals. They have automatic home signals and red lights or green light. They move themselves. Nobody can stop them because they are automatic. You have to answer means you have to answer. You have to respond means you have to respond. You have to recall them, you have to remind them, you have to remind them. This happens. But what has happened? Communication has been tried through digital world or through mobiles, and which is detrimental, I can say. Detrimental. You cannot remember. You cannot coordinate, in fact. When you keep on calling mobile on both ends, people talk, and after talking they walk out. After talking they walk out and they forget what they talked. And that is deficiency, that is demerit of communication by digital world, by mobiles, because writing power does not exist. Today you write some young, maybe those who study or who have already completed their education, you shall find that 95 to 98% of them, they do not know exactly what to write. They do not know exactly what's the meaning of coordination. You gave them some work, they will not coordinate. Either they will ask others. They don't have scrutinizing power. They don't have investigation power. They don't have such power. And that's what I'm trying to stress. Communication and coordination is a top discipline which never stops, and where there is no subject, no technique, no textbook. You are book, you are subject, you have design, you are designer, you have to apply, you are applier, you are applicator. So I say communication is coordination. Throughout world it exists that people do not know how to communicate. There was a time when Americans used to talk only. There was a time when Arab world used to talk only. And there was a time when those people who were not very well school or college educated or university educated, or they were not experienced in writing, they used to talk only. Now what has happened? I saw a difference in English people, in British one, who used to write exactly. And maybe some other country people used to write, but generally even in our country writing was very important in India, Bharat. You see, writing was very important. Now also it is important, but now it's not of that standard or level of quality. You may see some old government servants or old private servants, they may be experts in writing, but they have their own wonders. They don't want to change, means changes have not arrived in. We are not qualified enough to recognize and to adopt changes. That is our bad point, you can say. That is demerit on our case. Otherwise, we are best communicators, we are best coordinators in the world. Our engineering disciplines are based on communication and coordination. If you don't refer to merits, if you don't refer to materials, if you don't refer to quality, we cannot do anything. Books are not enough. Books are only syllabus books. These books are not professional books. Even in professional books, you will not find this subject covered. You shall not find analysis covered. You shall not find, coordination covered. You shall not find, only particularity is given to what is subject and text. and that does not equip student to know more about that. Life is more important than syllabus. Syllabus is only for passing or getting through examination and not for making yourself a professional, a person. You can be an engineer by qualification, but by profession you may not be engineer until you understand everything, you apply in your life whatever is required. So I say, in हिंदी I say, आज के समय में संचार तथा संतुलन खो चुका है, जबकि ये अत्यंत आवश्यक है। आपको गुणवत्ता पाने के लिए, आपको लोगों को समझाने के लिए कि आप क्या करना चाहते हैं या क्या होना चाहिए, आपका लोगों को किस तरह से संचार है, किस तरह से आपका संतुलन है, वो आज के समय में खो चुका है। कोई अगर आप देखें आज का बच्चा, आज का स्टूडेंट, विद्यार्थी या आज का व्यर्थिक व्यवसायिक टेलीफोन से, मोबाइल से दुनिया चलाना चाहता है। सब 95% से 98% अगर आप देखें, सारी दुनिया मोबाइल पे चलना चाहती है, जैसे मोबाइल ही दुनिया है। बहुत कम आपको राइटिंग मिलेंगी, एडवर्टाइजमेंट जरूर मिलेंगी राइटिंग में, लेकिन अगर आप कार्य में देखें, क्षमता जो होगी वो मोबाइल बेस्ड होगी। कोई भी जवाब देना मेल से नहीं चाहता, कोई भी ये नहीं चाहता कि उसको काम के बारे में मेल की जाए या उससे कोई लेटर से बात की जाए या कोई सवाल पूछा जाए। आप शिकायत कीजिए किसी भी कंपनी में, किसी भी सर्विस प्रोवाइडर के यहाँ, तो आपको फ़ोन आएगा कि क्या प्रॉब्लम है, जबकि आप प्रॉब्लम, आप समस्या लिख के ऑलरेडी दे चुके हैं। वो पढ़ते नहीं, बस मेल आई, थोड़ा पैनिक हुआ क्योंकि उनको मेल का जवाब रिकॉर्ड में रखना है। क्वेश्चन पूछा जाएगा कि आपने मेल पे क्या एक्शन लिया, तो वो लिख देंगे हमने बात की इनसे, और बात ऐसे करेंगे जैसे सब कुछ रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है, और रिकॉर्ड हो भी रहा है तो उसका क्या मतलब। जब आप सही समय पे काम नहीं करना चाहते, या इसका मतलब यह कि आप कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं कर सकते, संतुलन नहीं दे सकते, काम में तालमेल नहीं बिठा सकते, और जब तक आप तालमेल नहीं बिठाएंगे काम आगे चलेगा नहीं। हमारी बॉडी अपने आप में एक कोऑर्डिनेटेड बॉडी है, कोऑर्डिनेटेड प्लांट है। इसका एक भी पार्ट अगर खराब हो जाए हमारे शरीर का, तो हम बीमार हो जाते हैं। इसलिए हमारा दुनिया, हमारा सिस्टम, हमारा प्रोफेशन भी एक शरीर तो है, तभी तो हम उसको बॉडी कहते हैं। कोई कॉर्पोरेट बॉडी कहता है, कोई बॉडी कहता है, कोई सोसाइटी कहता है, कोई सिस्टम कहता है, कुछ भी कहता है। वी हैव टू रियलाइज दिस फैक्ट्स। अगर हम इतनी सी बात नहीं समझ सकते तो हमारी दुनिया बेकार है, हमारा प्रोफेशन बेकार है, हमारे काम बेकार हैं, सब बेकार है। इस बात को समझना चाहिए। आप हवाबाजी में रहेंगे तो हवाबाज रहेंगे, आप गेम खेलते रहेंगे तो गेम खेलते रहेंगे, कोई वास्तविक दुनिया में नहीं आएंगे। लिखित में दस्तावेज आवश्यक है। मोबाइल से लंबी बातचीत का उपयोग का कोई फायदा नहीं, क्योंकि आप भूल जाएंगे। या तो आप उतनी बात कीजिए, उसको लिख कर रिकॉर्ड पूरा कीजिए, तब तो ठीक है। अगर आप बातें ही करते रहेंगे, उसके बाद दूसरे से बात करेंगे, फिर तीसरे से बात करेंगे, वो पिछले वाले सब भूल जाएंगे। इसकी बात उसमें आ जाएगी, उसके बाद उसमें आ जाएगी। इसीलिए मेरी आपसे सलाह है कि डॉक्यूमेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं दुनिया में, प्रोफेशन में, काम में। और स्पेसिफिकेशंस मीन्स दिस इज इनडायरेक्टली यू कैन से इंस्ट्रक्शन टुवर्ड्स क्वालिटी। मैंने ढूंढा कि स्पेसिफिकेशन को विनिर्देश कहते हैं। विनिर्देश अब कहाँ तक सही है मैं नहीं जानता। स्पेसिफिकेशन इज ए मस्ट, इट इज ए मस्ट टू बी डिस्क्राइब्ड, it is a must to be provided pointedly, not very explanatory. If you provide very explanatory, maybe people do not refer to it because they are not interested in reading. But you can say total understanding of defined specification is a must. You have to define in brief but point wise so that it can be applied correctly. And this is responsibility of design specifying engineer. Engineer means engineer has to design, engineer has to work on site, and engineer has to define also what work is to be done, what are parameters of that work, what are the requirement of that work, how that work fits into your program. So we can say quality, safety, health, environment, ergonomics, contracts and products, these are all combined together for obtaining total quality and total safety. It's very important part you have to understand. And again, every day I show you this. important one. We should not run away from this. And if we run away from this, we run away from our responsibility. Then I can say these days we have to be very socialist one. I mean to say we have to socialize. We have to socialize in a way that we can understand how it works. You know, science is developed, but not to that extent. We can say it has gone, it's gone too far. We cannot say that. We cannot say that. It has not gone so far. It has not gone anywhere. It is still there. And I'm just trying to go back to contract, which is our part of engineering, because without contracts, engineering cannot be done. It may be design or it may be site work. And before that's a part of safety, I just try to say, though it's not a title, but safety is a title. Omicron, COVID-19 Omicron, it has already come to world. And soon, maybe in a couple of weeks, you shall find that all countries have become host for this. They say it started from South Africa, some say it started from Netherlands. Irrespective of where it started from, like Delta started from our country, Bharat, India. Well, it doesn't matter from where this started, matter issues at how to handle it. We have seen many names of COVID-19, Alpha, Beta, Lambda, Delta. Likewise, names do not matter. What matters is power of that virus, and it's for everybody, every member of society to have concern about it. It's not that I am saying you already know it. I'm just trying to say that what news inform that this one is 3 times serious as so far as others were. It is much stronger than Delta, and Delta was much stronger than previous one. So seriousness is very important. I have seen in Germany itself has not run away. I don't know how people can think like that. Even our country, Bharat, India, they are showing very limited numbers because they just want to hide. I know facts that whatever government of India announces per day, every day they announce, you multiply that by 4 or 5 and you'll get exact numbers. Though it's more, but let us say we have to understand clearly where problem lies in. अगर हमको अपने को बचाना है तो हमको इन बातों का ध्यान रखना होगा. हम पैनिक में ना जीकर समझदारी से जिएं. अभी समय है कि अपने को बचा लें. अच्छा रहेगा, क्योंकि बचाना ही सेफ है. इलाज सेफ नहीं है. इलाज है ही नहीं तो सेफ कहाँ से होगा. इसका तो वैक्सीन भी अभी नहीं है, तो आप क्या करेंगे. वैक्सीन कब बनेगा कौन जानता है, और सही बनेगा नहीं बनेगा कौन जानता है. अभी तक के वैक्सीन तो एक तरह से बेकार ही गए हैं. वो कहने को कुछ भी कहेंगे, बिजनेस करना है उनको, लेकिन वास्तविकता तो यही है कि अभी तक इस वायरस का, कोविड-19 का, 19 का कोई भी इसका उत्तर नहीं है हमारे पास. और सुनने में आता है कि ये बच्चों को भी तेज़ी से लगता है. इसके सिम्टम्स बहुत हल्के होते हैं, पता भी नहीं लगता है कि किसको ओमिक्रॉन हो गया. और यूथ जो बहुत गुस्से वाला होता है, लापरवाह होता है, उनसे विशेष तौर पे मैं कहूँगा, अपने गुस्से को अपनी जेब में रखिए और अपनी नाक पे, अपने मुंह पे मास्क रखिए. आपके गुस्से से ज़्यादा ये मास्क अच्छा है. गुस्से तो आते रहेंगे, आपकी पर्सनैलिटी तो बनती रहेगी, लेकिन आप अगर सही रहेंगे तो उससे ज़्यादा अच्छा होगा. सबको मास्क रखें, लगाएं, इसका एक ही रास्ता है। आप ये मत सोचिए कि आपको पुलिस रोकेगी या नहीं रोकेगी, ये मत सोचिए कि देश की सरकार आपसे कब कहेगी कि मास्क लगाइए। आप स्वयं सरकार हैं, क्योंकि आप सरकार बनाते हैं। हेल्थ आपकी अपनी है, स्वास्थ्य अपना है, सरकार का नहीं है। अगर आप बीमार होंगे तो दर्द आपको होगा, सरकार को नहीं होगा। इसीलिए मैं सभी लोगों से कहता हूँ, इस देश के हों या दूसरे देश के हों, मास्क लगाएं, हर समय लगाएं। घर से बाहर हो तो भी लगाएं, घर के अंदर हो तो भी लगाएं, या जहाँ भी हो तो भी लगाएं। इससे आपका कोई नुकसान तो नहीं होने वाला, फिर किस बात की चिंता। Just try to explain to you about Omicron COVID-19, which has almost spread to more than 24 countries, and maybe it shall find its place everywhere within a couple of weeks. And it's very harmful according to statements organs and news sources we are getting in. It's 3 times more stronger than previous one, even Delta. Delta is now very normal if you compare it to Omicron, and maybe after Omicron what comes we do not know. But so far it has been concerned very, very seriously, and scientists are still working on this. They are not clear about this, what this Omicron is. They do not know all injections or intoxications have failed. Of course, immunity is different, but immunity is also limited. After second dose of these vaccines, effect of this remains only for 6 months, not more than that. And after 6 months, you are free. You are again same as you were before 6 months. So we have to be very clear about this. And I just try to say, take care. Don't worry about anything, but just worry about how to protect yourself, and that is hot water drink and mask. It's only mask that can help you. Nobody can help you. This means you have to help yourself. Don't worry about care, just of being ashamed. It's your requirement. It's like, medicine. Mask is a medicine. Boil and hot water is a medicine. Do not take, do not buy any item of eatables from from any person who does not use mask. If you cannot do this, then I don't know what can you do. Difficult means why to pay to medical sciences, why to pay to doctors, why to pay to hospitals if you can avoid that. So this was my very simple message for, because usually it's my habit to share my information. I always post on Facebook and LinkedIn every day's analysis statistically, and it has been for more than 400 days that I have been doing that in my interest, in my own, you may say it's my hunger, it's my food to provide this information daily. If you want to benefit, you can benefit, because information is expertise. Actually, it's a part of communication which I try to I'll highlight. Missing communication gap should be filled in, and that can be done by yourself. I do not lose anything. It's a question of interest. Maybe somebody get benefit, somebody get benefit. Maybe you do not know, but if you see, it's very informative posting. It's done in two ways. One is by Word file and other by spreadsheet. Spreadsheet is posted on script.com, while Word file is posted on Facebook. So it gives some information, and that is based on state provided data, government provided data. It's not my own data. I'm not reporter. I'm just trying to share some information by collection methods, and say we do postings from various websites, various newspapers, which helps means because we have a situation around world, so we cannot focus only on one country. That's my country. I have to focus on everyone. And this is also true that world has lost uniformity. We should know that even if COVID exists in Africa and doesn't exist in other parts of world, you cannot say we got rid of COVID. It can come from there to you. Try to understand that. It has been said by WHO that only 10% people have been vaccinated within nations which fall in range of Mediterranean. Means 90% people in Africa have not been vaccinated. That's a point of concern. It's a point of high concern because maybe they don't have money, no resources. But wherever vaccination has been done satisfactorily, successfully, they are also prone to COVID-19, impact of Delta and Omicron. So we cannot depend exclusively on vaccination. Of course, you can get some short-term immunity gains, but not permanent solution. Permanent solution is only that keep yourself protected all time, even in wet areas. And wet areas means even you are in toilet or washroom or bathroom or wherever you are, you have to keep yourself protected. That is only professional message, and I think we should be serious about this, because if you are safe, you are having quality life, at least in that safety. So we come back to contracts, as contract is very important part in profession, and I am talking of real contracts and not of daily use contracts. This is not daily use contract I am talking. This is contract where millions and millions are involved or billions are involved. That is money of project, and that is money of government or private sector. In fact, that is money of people of this country or every country. I worked in countries where quality was of top requirement, and I still thank that time I got that opportunity. I wanted to learn something after my education, because learning is much more important than having degrees. Degrees you can get if you join some university. After doing engineering degree, you have to get either master's degree or doctor's degree. Those degrees can be achieved if you have money to survive, if you don't need exactly requirement of job, and you can spend time. So within a couple of years, you can get masters and doctors. But is that end? Is masters that competency degree, or is doctor is that competency degree? I don't think so. Because they are not to that level as industry moves, as engineering science moves, as development moves. In fact, to be very truthful, development from field of engineering or industries go to university. It's not that university gives program for development. So university gives you something obsolete or old, while something happens in field. I still remember I saw concrete pump first time in 1981-82. 1981-82 I'm talking. I left this country for job. I left my job for overseas job in 1981. I mean to say when I was just 26 years old, and by that time I had worked a couple of years here, but that was in supervisory position. I was involved in supervising jobs or contracting jobs. This means I was not doing anything myself, very frank. And you know, levels of contractor in this country, they are not well destined, they don't have quality system, they did not believe in quality, and still it is same because they are contractors. I cannot backbite them, but it's a fact. But no different are engineers, of course, and particularly I noticed that there was no engineer. In fact, by positions they were engineer, by titles they were engineers, but practically speaking, they were not engineers. They were just, you can say, kind of writing clerk, billing clerk, just going to site, have a visit, and not to point out so much. I mean to say, engineering didn't exist. And I did learn nothing except taking measurement, making evaluations, or you can say scrutinizing documents. Likewise, where you can learn nothing, but one part is that maybe you have jobs continuation and you can survive economically. That is of course true, but you know, engineering misses. So I was not happy. I wanted to learn something, and I was opportuned to go to Iraq, to go to Libya, to go to Qatar, UAE, Abu Dhabi, Saudi, and of course some works of coordination and arbitration work related to China, India, Bharat, international level, and of course I did some writing work, some coordination work, lot of coordination work in my professional work, professional assignment. And in fact, I was forced to learn that because my innocence, because I was beaten by by some people. Engineering is a business work, it's a business profession, means business means either you have to do your own business or you have to run business of others. There is no engineering otherwise. Engineering means cost, engineering means time, engineering means risks, and engineering means production. Engineering means delivery of requirements, delivery of scope of work. That's what is engineering. And engineering means use of mind, and doing quality work, doing safety work, doing work for people, permanent use. So if you talk of contracts, a contract is that phenomenon. Contract वो रास्ता है जो किसी भी काम को वास्तविक रूप से अगर आप देखें कंस्ट्रक्शन में और नागरिक विद्या में, सिविल इंजीनियरिंग में कंस्ट्रक्शन बहुत होती है. In fact, you can say at one end it is construction, at other end it is design and planning. In between there are so many subjects, but design and implement design, you can say that is engineering. And then you can jump down to plan, do, check and act. Plan something, do something, check something what has been done, and then how to resolve that. That is act. Contract means it is application of engineering. It may be design service contract or it may be construction service contract. I am using service here because these are services. We provide services to public actually, not to companies. Because whatever is done, whatever is carried out, it's for people. So in fact, it is public, but we do not write all time. That is for people we write, it's for client, and that client could be owner, that client could be builder, promoter, or that client is ultimately end user, and end user is public member. While we do not have any agreement with public, but we have agreement with owner and contractor, employer and contractor. So we restrict to that point only, because if you jump down, if you climb down, go I'll explore people, then we shall not get anything except that. Reality we forget. Works are carried out and we are discussing something that was used in past in country, that is Qatar, state of Qatar. Because I had a copy of this, I just wanted to share this information, though there is no much different. There is no much different if you compare this document and current FIDIC conditions. But point is that we have to understand what works are done, how works are done, how contracts speak volumes of requirement, minimum offset requirement, you can say offset requirement from some risky object like electric pylon or some other safety object, from which we have to maintain a corridor type, a distance, so that it doesn't come in contact with that. And that mandatory requirement can be called values. And of course then time for completion we have. Time for completion is already defined on contracts in contract data. There is no way that you cannot complete your project within that time. because when you apply for tender and when you submit tender, you must have kept in view time of completion because it's a part of contract data. You must know what are damages you have to pay in case you cannot complete that contract within that time, and that is called liquidated damages, which are defined, which are of course limited to, you cannot freely move all the time. You have to lose something. There are certain, because if you don't apply for extension, you have to pay for LD. And LD is for contractor, it's imposed on contractor if contract doesn't give progress or if contractor doesn't complete work in time. It's of course very important point we have to keep in mind. Or you can say there's another period which is called defects notification period. These days, at that time it was not the use. Means if there are defects, then you cannot get extension of time or you cannot complete work in time because of defects if defects are major. So we have to think like that. Contract is not very simple, it is very complicated, but of course it is supportive. So we can simply say, I am just refreshing you, should amount of extra or additional work, amount of extra additional work of whatever kind or other special circumstances of whatever kind whatsoever which may occur other than through a default of contractor be such as fairly to entitle contractor to an extension of time for completion of work. For completion of work, engineer shall determine amount of such extension and shall notify to employer and contractor accordingly, provided that engineer is not bound to take into account any extra or additional work or other special circumstances unless contractor has within 28 days after such work has been commenced or such circumstances have arisen as soon as thereafter as is practicable delivered to engineer's representative full and detailed particulars of whatever claim to extension of time to which it may consider itself entitled in order that such claim may be investigated at that time. Friday is written because this is Arab country, otherwise it is, you can say, weekly off day, so no night or Friday work, subject to whatever provision to contrary contained in contract. None of permanent works shall save as hereinafter provided be carried on during night or on Fridays or on holidays. Shall immediately advise engineers representative, provided always that provisions of this clause shall not be applicable in case of any whatever work which is customary to carry out rotary or double shift. आप काम उन कामों को छोड़ के आप ऑर्डिनरी टाइम में ही ऑर्डिनरी काम करेंगे। नाइट में नहीं करेंगे, छुट्टी वाले दिन नहीं करेंगे, जब तक ये बहुत ज़रूरी ना हो, जिसके बिना नहीं रहा जा सकता हो, एसेंशियल सर्विसेज का हो, या आप कह सकते हैं उसकी परमिशन तो लेंगे आप, वो तो कोई वो नहीं है, परमिशन मिलेगी। जहाँ प्रॉपर्टी को बचाना है, लाइफ को बचाना है, वर्क की सेफ्टी का ध्यान रखना है, वो सब काम ज़रूरी होते हैं। वो उसके अलावा जो भी ऑर्डिनरी काम होंगे, नॉर्मल काम, इसके बारे में चिंता है हमको होनी भी चाहिए। After all, it is contract, and we have to be very serious about contract issues. And therefore, it's very important point to discuss. What we are saying is, rate of progress, progress की शक्ति, progress की क्षमता, progress की स्पीड से जा रही है। Whole materials, plant and workers to be provided by contractor under whatever clause of and mode, manner and speed of execution, and maintenance of works are to be of a kind and conducted in a manner to satisfaction of engineer। आपका जो भी मटेरियल है, जो भी मशीन है, वर्कर्स हैं जो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर देने हैं, एक मैनर के होने चाहिए, स्पीड आनी चाहिए काम में, काम की मेंटेनेंस हो, काम की कंस्ट्रक्शन हो, उनको एक इस तरह से करना है कि इंजीनियर सेटिस्फाई हो। मतलब ये है इंजीनियर का यहाँ पे काम सेटिस्फाई हो, ऑनर सेटिस्फाई हो, हम जो भी काम करें सही करें, जैसा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट चाहता है वैसा करें। शुड रेट ऑफ प्रोग्रेस ऑफ वर्क्स और whatever part thereof be at whatever time, in opinion of engineer, too slow to ensure completion of works by prescribed time or extended time for completion of completion, engineer shall so notify contractor in writing, and contractor shall thereupon take steps, such steps as contractor may think necessary, and engineer may approve or expedite progress so as to complete works by prescribed time or extended time of completion। जब भी ऐसा लगे कि काम ढीला चल रहा है, स्पीड से नहीं चल रहा है, यह हक बनता है इंजीनियर का कि कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को नोटिस दे के अपने काम को तेज करें, काम को तेज करें, बहुत ढीला चल रहा है, प्रोग्रेस बहुत कम आ रही है। उसके बाद कॉन्ट्रैक्टर जवाब देगा राइटिंग में और अपने बताएगा तरीके, रास्ते जो अपनाने हैं उस काम की स्पीड को बढ़ाने के लिए, जिससे कि ना तो एक्सटेंशन की ज़रूरत पड़े या एक्सटेंशन टाइम मिल जाए तो उसमें काम कैसे पूरा होगा। If work is not being carried out on by day and by night, and the contractor shall request permission to work by night as well as by day. If engineer grants such permission, contractor shall not be entitled to any additional payment for so doing, but if such permission be refused, and there shall be no equivalent practical method of expediting progress of work, time for completion shall be extended by such period as is solely attributable. Very important it is. Contractor requests permission to work by night as well as by day, and if engineer grants such permission, contractor shall not be entitled to any additional payment for so doing, but if such permission be refused, and there shall be no equivalent practical method of expediting progress of work, time for completion shall be extended by such period as is solely attributable to such refusal. All work at night shall be carried out without unreasonable noise and disturbance. Contractor shall indemnify owner from and against whatever liability for damages on account of noise or other disturbance created while in while carrying out work and form from and against all claims, demands, proceedings, costs, charges, and expenses whatsoever in regard or in relation to such liability. What's the reason that rate of progress is falling? Is it due to incompetency of contractor? It is due to efficiency of contractor. Contractor is genuine in work, but there's some other problem. Whatever it depends on means you cannot simply answer this is right or that is right. It depends on circumstances and it depends on contracting capacity of party, and also it depends on how strong engineer is in organizing such supervision or we can say surveillance. देन इफ यू कैन से इम्पोजिशन ऑफ पेनल्टी, किस तरह से हम उसको पैसा की डैमेज दें, पैसे का नुकसान करें या पेनल्टी लगाएं. जो पेनल्टी सही नहीं है अगर ना, लेकिन कोई बात नहीं, हम पेनल्टी मान लेते हैं. पेनल्टी कहा जाता है लेकिन सिविल वर्ड नहीं है ये. पेनल्टी मीन्स relevant clause hereof or extended time, then contractor shall pay to owner or employer sum stated in tender as penalty for such default for every day or part of a day which shall elapse between time prescribed by this clause by that completion of works. Maximum penalty for delay shall not exceed 10%. This is general trend. 10% of total contract sum or adjusted contract sum. This is a cap of 10%. It's a kind of you can say warning to contract. But if contract fails to maintain contract time or you can say construction time, certainly that work cannot be used. That work cannot be declared completed and to be occupied. That limit of कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में होता है, टेंडर में होता है. अगर आपने एक दिन का डिले किया तो इतना जुर्माना, और आपने 2 दिन डिले किया तो उसी हिसाब से जो भी जुर्माना बताया गया उससे 2 से मल्टीप्लाई कर दें पर डे के हिसाब से. और यदि वो एक ही रेट है और हमको उसको जुर्माना काटना है तो जितने दिन का भी डिले है उतने रेट से मल्टीप्लाई करके आपका पेनल्टी इतना हुआ या आपका लिक्विडेटेड डैमेजेस इतना हुआ, हम ये आपके बिल से काटेंगे. अगर आप रिकवर नहीं करेंगे एक नोटिस ही देना पड़ेगा एम्प्लॉयर को, एम्प्लॉयर है कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को, और उसके बाद आप लिक्विडेटेड डैमेजेस रिकवर कर सकते हैं. और अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्टर कोई प्रोग्राम लाता है भाई हम इस तरह से इसको रिकवर करेंगे नुकसान को जो टाइम लग गया, और वो लाता है वापस उस पर, तो वो पेनल्टी जो डैमेज जो आपने काटी वो वापस देनी पड़ेगी. You have to be very careful about this. This penalty or damage shall be payable without notice or recourse to legal proceedings and without having to establish that damage was sustained, which shall be considered as ascertained. Owner may, without prejudice to whatever other method of recovery, deduct amount of such penalty or damage from whatever monies due or which may become due to contractor. ऐसा कहा, अगर ये देरी होती है, एक्सटेंशन नहीं मिलती है, तो ये पैसा आप कॉन्ट्रैक्टर से ले सकते हैं बिना नोटिस दिए हुए। कुछ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में नोटिस का प्रोविज़न होता है, प्रावधान होता है, वहाँ तो नोटिस देना पड़ेगा आपको, और नहीं भी है तो भी दे सकते हैं। आप इस बात का इंतज़ार नहीं करेंगे कि हमको ये सबूत दिया जाए कि देरी क्यों हुई। ये हमारा काम नहीं है, आपका काम है, आप बताइए कि आपको देरी क्यों हुई। और इसी से डैमेज आप काटेंगे बिना पूछे, बिना रिकवरी के मेथड के आप काटेंगे अपनी सेफ्टी के लिए, और बाद में अगर काम समय में पूरा हो भी गया तो उसको आप वापस दे देंगे। Not relieve contractor from its obligation to complete works from any other of its obligations and liabilities under contract. Imposition of such penalty shall not prejudice owner right to compensation on respect of other damages sustained by it. ये सिंपल है। ऐसे नुकसानों को कॉन्ट्रैक्टर से रिकवर करने के बाद कॉन्ट्रैक्टर बच नहीं सकता, फिर भी अपनी जिम्मेदारी से, अपने उत्तरदायित्व से, जो कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में है, वो वैसे ही चलेंगे। और ऐसे पेनल्टी लगने के बाद आप ऑनर को नहीं कह सकते कि हम आपको पैसे दे चुके हैं, लेकिन ये एक प्रोफेशनल कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल अरेंजमेंट है। एक तरह से आप कह सकते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को चेतावनी है कि भाई आपने देर तो कर दी, लेकिन अभी भी आप अगर इसको सही ला दें, काम पे टाइम पे ख़त्म कर दें, तो हम ये एक्सटेंशन आपको दे देंगे या कुछ भी करेंगे। ये बातें की जा सकती हैं। कैसे किया जाए रिडक्शन ऑफ पेनल्टी, that is also some point to discuss, and that is reduction of penalty. If before completion of works, if before completion of whole of works, you can say, is English is like that, if before completion of whole of works, whatever part of works has been certified, whatever part of work has been certified by engineer is completed pursuant to given clause and occupied or used by owner, this amount of penalty for delay shall, for whatever period of delay after such certification, be reduced in proportion which value of part so certified bears to value of works as from date of completion to completion or occupation of such part. आपने पेनल्टी लगाई है, लेकिन अगर ऐसा होता है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ने कुछ हिस्से आपको पहले ही दे दिए कंप्लीट करके, तो उन हिस्सों की कॉस्ट निकाल दी जाएगी पेनल्टी कैलकुलेट करने के लिए, डैमेज कैलकुलेट करने के लिए, और उस कॉस्ट को निकाल के जो भी बनता है बैलेंस कॉस्ट, उसके ऊपर ही आपको डैमेजेस को डालना पड़ेगा। दिस इज व्हाट इट सेज, मीन्स रिडक्शन ऑफ पेनल्टी। If says 2 or 3 buildings have been completed, but other 4 or 5 not been completed, you have to keep in mind that its capability. It is rule that we have to recover damages. Maybe it's considered for purpose of warning, but warning or no warning, we have to care about that. Then clauses, it comes to consultation fees for delayed completion. I again read reduction of penalty for your reference. Maybe you are clear about that, but better to repeat. After all, I am talking to many people. Maybe my English is not good or my pronunciation may not be good. But we are concerned about contents of clauses. And this says reduction of penalty if before completion of works or whole work, certain part of works has been certified by engineers as completed pursuant to defined clause hereof, occupied or used by owner. Damages or penalty for delay shall for whatever period of delay after such certification is over and be reduced in proportion which value of part so certified bears to value of whole part so certified bears to value of whole works as from date of completion or occupation such part. Then question of article of, or you can section of, or provision, and that is consultation fees for delayed completion. Completion and delayed completion, about consultation and consultant's fee. In addition to penalty or damage for delay as described hereof, contractor shall be liable for full costs of any additional fee, whatever additional fee is payable by owner to consultants engaged by owner for this contract, and which are payable as a result of contractor failing to complete works. Failing to complete works within time prescribed by clause applicable one, hereof any extended time granted under clause previously what is beside whatever we can say this penalty clause I'm talking, and then consultant fees. In addition, we can say owner may without prejudice to whatever other method of recovery deduct amount of such damages from whatever monies in its hands due to which may become due to contractors. So we can repeat this. Hereof contractor shall be liable for full costs of whatever additional fees by authority, by PWA or owner for this contract, and which are payable as a result of contractor failing to complete works within time prescribed by given clause or any extended time granted under that clause hereof. Owner may without prejudice to whatever other method of recovery, owner may without prejudice to other method of recovery deduct amount of such damages from whatever monies in its hands due or which may be अगर वो रिकवरी कर भी जाए डैमेजेस की, और ये जान तो तभी छूटेगी जब आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के हिसाब से काम पूरा करेंगे. सिंपल सी बात है. पेमेंट ऑफ सच कॉस्ट शैल नॉट रिलीव कॉन्ट्रैक्टर फ्रॉम इट्स ऑब्लिगेशंस टू कंप्लीट वर्क्स और फ्रॉम एनी अदर of its obligations and liabilities under contract. As soon as in opinion, of engineer, work shall have been substantially completed and have satisfactorily passed any or whatever final test that may be prescribed by contract. Engineer shall, on receiving a written undertaking by contractor to finish whatever outstanding work during period of maintenance, issue a certificate of completion in respect of works, and period of maintenance of works shall commence from date of such certificate, provided that engineer may give such a certificate and upon written application of contractor give such certificate with respect to any substantial or whatsoever substantial part of works which has been both completed to satisfaction of engineer and occupied or used by owner. And when whatever such certificate is given in respect of a part of works, such part shall be considered as completed, and period of maintenance of such part commences from date of such certificate, provided also that a certificate of completion given in accordance with foregoing provisions of whatever part of works occupied and used as aforesaid shall not be deemed to certify completion of whatever ground or surfaces requiring a reinstatement unless the certificate shall expressly so state. जैसा भी जल्दी से जल्दी इंजीनियर अगर सोचता है कि काम काफ़ी रूप से कंप्लीट हो गया, समाप्त हो गया, या काम वो टेस्ट पास कर गया जो होने थे, और ठेकेदार अगर इंजीनियर को लिख के देता है, ऐसा लिख के देता है इंजीनियर को कि जो भी बचे हुए काम हैं हम उनको पूरा कर देंगे, और इंजीनियर ये मानता है चलो ठीक है पीरियड ऑफ मेंटेनेंस को शुरू कर देते हैं इस काम के लिए, तो वो जो डेट मानी गई कंप्लीशन की उस डेट से मेंटेनेंस पीरियड शुरू हो जाता है। और ऐसा किसी भी काम के हिस्से how to handle defects if we have started maintenance period, how to treat it, that is what this clause directly states. Definition of period of maintenance, that is clause. In these conditions, expression period of maintenance shall mean period of maintenance named in tender, calculated from date of completion of works, certified by engineer in execution of work of repair, and we are talking that. Unfortunately, signals are down again. Today maybe both 0, 0. Of course, some shows 13 FPS somewhere, but it's too low. It is now 2 FPS. Maybe I don't know why this is happening. It's I already passed 1 hour. Let's say execution of work of repair. To intend that works shall at or as soon as practicable. As soon as practicable, after expiration of period of maintenance, be developed to owner in as good and perfect a condition. Of course, fair wear and tear accepted to satisfaction of engineer, as that in which they were at commencement of project, commencement period of maintenance. Contractor shall execute all such work of repair. All such work of repair, amendment, reconstruction, rectification, and making good all defects. Imperfections, shrinkages, or other faults as may be required of contractors in writing by engineer during period of maintenance or within 14th day after its expirations as a result of an inspection made by or on behalf of engineer prior to expiration. You have to re-study. It's important because it's question of repair and there is no limit. It's about 5 o'clock. In meanwhile, say if you want to raise any question, अगर आपको कोई भी प्रश्न करना है तो मैंने आपको मेल आईडी दी हुई है at yahoo.co.uk. You can use this ID for this purpose. You can raise your question if you are interested in. If you want to share something from my little knowledge, you can have some answer, you cannot have some answers. It's up to you. My duty is that if you want to write, you write. There is no problem at all. You can write whatever you want to write regarding this talk or engineering issue. To intend that works shall let, I am talking of repair because again it's important. To intend that works shall let or as soon as practicable after expiration of period of maintenance be delivered up to owner in as good and perfect a condition, including fair wear and tear accepted to satisfaction of engineer as that in which they were at commencement of period of maintenance. Contractor shall execute all such work of repair, amendment, reconstruction, rectification, and making good of defects after its expression as a result of an inspection made by or on behalf of engineer prior to its expression. Cost of execution of works of repair. Certainly, meaning is that it's this explanation. All such work shall be carried out by contractor at its own expenses, if necessary, thereof shall, in opinion of engineer, be due to use of materials or workmanship or workship. I am using workship rather than workmanship. Same thing, of such work, not in accordance with contract, or to neglect or failure on part of contractor to comply with any obligation expressed or implied on contractor's part under contract. If in opinion of engineer, such necessary work shall in no case be as such, we can say, as such work shall be carried out by contractor at his own expense, if necessary thereof. If necessity thereof shall, in opinion of engineer, be due to use of materials or workship not in accordance with contract, or to neglect or failure on part of contractor to comply with whatever obligation expressed or implied on contractor's part under contract, if in opinion of engineer, such necessity shall be due to whatever other cause, value of such work shall be ascertained and paid for as if it were additional work. Again I say, cost of execution, as such work shall be carried out by contractor at its own cost, on expense, if necessity arises, if necessity thereof shall, in opinion of engineer, be due to use of materials or workmanship not in accordance with contract, or to neglect or failure on part of contractor to comply with whatever obligation expressed or implied on contractor's part under contract. If in opinion of engineer, such necessity shall be due to any or whatever other reason or cause on contractor's failure to carry out works. Remedy on contractor's failure to carry out work required. आप नहीं कर रहे काम तो क्या होगा, क्या उसका हल है, वो देखिए. If contractor, feeling cold, If contractor fails, if contractor fails uh, to do to do if contractor fails, I mean, just keeping my blanket, and my legs are cold. I can't sit like that. Sorry, gentlemen. If contractor shall fail, if contractor fails, if contractor shall fail, if contractor fails to do any such work as aforesaid required by engineer, owner shall be entitled to carry out such work by its own persons, its own workers, or by other contractors. And if such work is work which contractor should have carried out at contractor's own cost, shall be entitled to recover from contractor's cost thereof, or may deduct same from whatever money is due or that become due to contractor. अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्टर काम को नहीं कर पा रहा है, सक्सेसफुली फेल हो रहा है, जैसा हमने पहले कहा है, जो इंजीनियर ने कहा करने के लिए, उस केस में ऑनर को अधिकार होगा, अगर वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर काम नहीं करता है तो वो चाहे तो अपने आदमियों से कराए या किसी और के आदमियों से कराए, और जो भी खर्चा आए वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर से रिकवर कर ले। और अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का पैसा नहीं है उस टाइम, तो जो भी पैसा आएगा उसमें से रिकवर कर ले। इसके बाद कॉन्ट्रैक्टर रिसर्च, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को ढूंढने के लिए कहा जा रहा है, ढूंढिए क्या, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर टू सर्च। Contractor shall, if required by engineer in writing, search for cause of whatever defect. कोई भी डिफेक्ट आ रहा है वो क्या है उसको ढूंढिए, और ये काम इंजीनियर का है। इफ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर शैल, इफ रिक्वायर्ड बाय इंजीनियर, अगर इंजीनियर कहेगा तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करना होगा। कॉन्ट्रैक्टर शैल, इफ रिक्वायर्ड बाय इंजीनियर इन राइटिंग, सर्च फॉर कॉज ऑफ वट एवर डिफेक्ट, क्यों डिफेक्ट आया ढूंढिए। imperfection, cause of defect, cause of imperfection or fault under direction of engineer. Unless such defect, imperfection, unless such defect, some imperfection, if contract shall, if shall be one for which contractor is liable under contract, cost of work carried out by contractors, searching as aforesaid shall be borne by owner. अगर स्कोप ऑफ वर्क में ये काम कॉन्ट्रैक्टर नहीं है और फिर भी अगर एम्प्लॉयर कराता है, इस बात का एम्प्लॉयर को करना पड़ेगा। Contract shall, if required by engineer, write in such for cause borne by PWR owner. But if such defect, imperfection, or fault shall be one of which contractor is liable as aforesaid, cost of work carried out in searching as aforesaid shall be borne by contractor, and and contractor shall in such case repair, rectify, and make good such defect, imperfection, or fault at its own expense in expense in accordance with provisions. Accordance with provisions said of clause. Alterations, additions, or omissions. ऑल्ट्रेशन, आप जानते हैं ऑल्ट्रेशन क्या होती है. वेरिएशन or any part thereof that may, in its opinion, be necessary, and for that purpose, or if for whatever reason, other reason, it shall be in its opinion to be desirable, shall have power to order contractor to do, and contractor shall do it. Either of following: increase or decrease quantity of any work or whatever work. Increase or decrease quantity of whatever work included in scope of contract. Omit whatever such work. Omit is also there. Change character or quality. Change character or quality or kind of whatever such work. Change levels, lines, position, and dimensions of or invalidate contract, but value of such all such variations be taken into account in ascertaining amount of execute additional work of whatever kind necessary, as we said, for completion of works, and no such variation shall in whatever way vitiate or invalidate contract, but Order for variations to be in writing. If for if for whatever reason if for whatever reason engineer shall consider it desirable to give the meaning of this clause. Provide further if in contractor shall confirm in writing to engineer any over verbal order of in writing to engineer, provide further that if contractor shall confirm in writing to engineer any so again I say says provided further that if contractor shall confirm in writing to engineer any verbal order of engineer and in and such confirmation shall not be contradicted in writing by engineer, it shall be deemed to be in order. And engineer engineer shall determine the amount which in opinion its opinion should be added to or deducted from sum named in tender in respect of whatever extra or additional work done or work omitted by its order. All such work all such work shall be valued at rates set out in contract. If in opinion of engineer, same shall be appropriate. shall not contain any rates, if contract shall not contain any rates appreciable to extra or additional work within then we can say if a contract shall not contain any rates applicable to extra or additional work, suitable prices shall be agreed upon between engineer and contractor. In event of disagreement, engineer shall fix such prices as shall in its opinion be reasonable and proper. Power of engineer to fix rates. Or addition relative to nature or amount of whole of contract. Provided if nature amount of any automation or addition related to nature of amount or whole of contract work or to whatever part thereof shall be such that in opinion of engineer rate or price contained in contract for whatever item of works is by reason of such omission or addition rendered unreasonable or inapplicable, then suitable rate or price shall be agreed upon between engineer and contractor. In event of disagreement, disagreement, engineer shall fix such other price, such other rate say, what you say here, it's very important. In event of disagreement, engineer shall fix such rates, such other prices, as shall in opinion be reasonable and proper, having regard to circumstances. Provide also that no increase of contract price under sub clause of this clause or variation of rate or price unsuitable okay. No increase of contract price under the clause of variation of rate of price of this clause shall be made unless as soon as after date of order as is practicable and in case of extra or additional work before commencement of work or as soon as drafting as is practicable, notice shall have been given in writing. Now it says commencement of work. Provide also that no increase of contract price under sub clause of this clause variation of rate of price of this clause shall be made unless as soon as after the date of order as is practicable and in In case of extra or additional work before commencement of the work. Extra. So what you say here, provide also that no increase of contract price under subclause of this clause, variation of rates of price under subclause of this clause shall be made unless as soon as after date of an order as is practicable, and in case of extra or additional work before commencement of work. Because it's very important one, we should know it very clearly. Power of engineer, what is that power, how does it matter, that's more important. Provided that power of engineer to fix rates, again I am saying, I already, again for your clearance, yes. Provided if nature or amount of whatever omission or addition relative to nature or amount of work of contact work or to whatever part thereof shall be such that in opinion of engineer rates or prices contained in contract for whatever item of works is by reason of such omission or addition rendered or applicable, then a suitable rate or price shall be agreed upon between engineer and contractors. In event of disagreement, engineer shall fix such other rates or price as shall in all that no increase or of contract price under subclause 3 of this clause or variation of rate or price under clause shall be made unless as soon as after date of order as is practicable, and case of extra or additional work before commencement of work or as soon as thereafter is practicable, notice shall have been given in writing by contractor to engineer of its intention to claim extra payment or varied rate. By engineer दावे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स क्लेम दावा हिंदी में कहते हैं दावा और ये कहते हैं क्लेम्स. बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट, वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट इशू टॉपिक. इफ यू आई सिंगल्स वर्क unfortunate, again and again I have to say same thing. Very difficult. Sometimes I speak but speech is not recorded, and of course these files stop moving if no recovery is allowed. Now we're talking of claims. Contractor shall send to engineer once in every month an account giving particulars as full and detailed as possible of all claims for whatever additional expenses to which contractor may consider itself entitled, which he has executed during preceding months, and no claims to pay for any such other such work shall be considered which has not been included in such particulars. Provided always that engineer shall be entitled to authorize payment to be made for whatever such work, notwithstanding contractor's failure to comply with this condition. If contractor has at least procedure opportunity notified engineer, that is that he intends to not I say provided always that engineer shall be entitled to authorize payment to be made for whatever such work, notwithstanding contractor's failure to comply with this condition. If contractor has at earliest practicable opportunity to try what is it? Claims means variations are there, omissions are there, additions are there, everything. What does it say? अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्टर समझता है कि मेरे दावे बनते हैं तो बनाइए, हर साल हर महीने दीजिए, आप लिख के कौन रोकता है? अपने आप स्क्रूटिनाइज हो जाएंगे. Contractor shall send to engineer once in every month an account giving particulars as full and detailed the papers. You can say contractor shall send to engineer once in every month an account giving full details of all claims for whatever additional expenses to which contractor may consider self-entitled, which he has executed during preceding month, and no claim for payment for whatever such work shall be considered which has not been included in such particulars. अगर आपने इंक्लूड नहीं किया क्लेम अपना मंथली पर सबमिशन में, बाद में वो इंक्लूड नहीं होगा. Provided always that engineers shall be entitled to authorize payment to be made for whatever such work, notwithstanding contractor's failure to we can say in that case, provided always that engineer shall be entitled to authorize payment to be made for whatever such work, notwithstanding contractor's failure to comply with this condition. Contractor's failure to abide by Let's go further. If it's authorizable, provided always that engineer shall be entitled to authorize payment to be made for whatever such work, notwithstanding contractor's failure to comply with this condition. If contractor has at earliest it is practicable opportunity notified the engineer. Then we come to plant, temporary works and materials. पर मशीनें कह सकते हैं आप प्लांट को. टेम्पररी वर्क एंड मटेरियल्स क्या बोलते हैं ये, लेट अस सी. आप जानते हैं व्हाट इज प्लांट, व्हाट इज टेम्पररी वर्क एंड व्हाट इज मटेरियल. वी नो वेल. इस क्लॉज के लिए फॉर पर्पस ऑफ दिस क्लॉज, expression constructional plant shall be deemed to exclude vehicles engaged in transporting whatever plant, equipment or materials to or from site. इनको निकाल दीजिए जो कंस्ट्रक्शन में काम आ रहे हैं प्लांट. व्हीकल्स हैं, जैसे व्हीकल्स भी प्लांट होती है, लेकिन हम इसको वैसा प्लांट नहीं मान रहे, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का है. Expression essential hire plant shall mean all constructional plant, temporary works and materials for temporary works. Expression essential hired plant shall mean all constructional plant, temporary works and materials for temporary works, withdrawal of which in event of forfeiture under given clause hereof might, having regard to method of construction employed prior to forfeiture, endanger safety or stability of or result in serious disturbance to execution of whatever part of work, and which are held by contractor under whatever agreement for hire thereof. Expression hired plant means whatever constructional plant, temporary works and materials for temporary works other than hired plants, essential hired plants held by contractor under whatever agreement. For hire shall be deemed not to include an agreement for hire purchase. Expression hire purchase plant shall mean constructional plant, temporary works and materials for temporary works held by contractor under an agreement of for hire purchase thereof. Always plants are brought to site for work, whatever may be contract status of plants. Sometimes for daily work, for handling factories works, sometimes only for buses. That can. What is that? We have to understand. समझना होगा हमको. All construction plant, temporary works and materials owned by contractor or by whatever company in which contractor has a controlling interest shall, when brought onto site, or in case of hire purchase, plant on site in its becoming property of contractor, immediately be deemed to become property of owner. जो भी मशीन लाए अपने काम के लिए, all construction plant, temporary works and materials owned by contractor or by other companies in which contractor has a controlling interest shall, when brought onto site, or in case of hire purchase, plant on site on its becoming property of contractor. We can say in that case what happens. You may say, or in case of hire purchase, plant on site on its become property of contractor, immediately be deemed to be property of owner. Conditions of hire of certain plant. This we talked was ownership. This is not very much technical, but for purpose of work activities. एक और बहुत बड़ी नहीं हम बात कर रहे हैं, हम छोटी छोटी बातें कर रहे हैं जो आपको पता होना चाहिए. हम ये नहीं कह सकते हमें नहीं पता है, इन्फॉर्मेशन तो होनी चाहिए. मस्ट हैव इन्फॉर्म, मस्ट हैव इन्फॉर्मेशन अबाउट दिस, एंड दैट्स व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू. And it is good, means we have to understand these points very well. Likewise, otherwise we cannot move further, and it's a very important point. And although we say all construction plant temporary works, of course we have said that this belong to honor all construction plant temporary works and materials owned by contractor or by the company in which contractor has a controlling interest shall be brought to site, or in case of hire purchase plant on site or becoming property of contractor, immediately be named to become property of owner. So conditions of hire plants, certain plants, with a view to securing in event of a forfeiture under given clause hereof continued availability for purpose of executing works of you can say whatever essential hired plant or hired plant, contractor shall not bring on to site whatever say any essential hired plant or hired plant unless agreement for hire thereof contains a provision that owner thereof shall on request in writing made by owner within 7 days after date on which whatever such forfeiture has become effective, and PWA, or you can say author affecting we say again, I say this very important point, with a view to securing in event of forfeiture under given clause hereof continued availability of purpose of executing work of whatever essential hired plant or hired plant contractor shall not bring onto site whatever essential hired plant or hired plant unless unless agreement of hire we can say again that with a view to securing in event of forfeiture under clause given clause thereof continued availability for purpose of executing works of whatever essential hired plant or hired plant contractor shall not bring onto site any essential hired plant or hired plant useless unless the agreement for hire thereof contains a provision that owner thereof shall on request in writing made by owner within 7 days after date on which whatever such plant has become effective and owner undertaking to pay all hire charges in respect thereon from such date hire such essential hired plant or hired plant to owner on same terms in all respects as same was hired in contractor saving that contractor employed now we'll go further on this because of its complexity little. There is now account has taken same rate has taken says on same terms in all respects as same was hired to contractor save that owner shall be entitled to permit use thereof by whatever other contractor employed in event of owner entering into whatever agreement for hire of essential hire plant or hire plant pursuant to provision of this clause all sums properly paid by owner under provisions of such agreement and all expenses incurred by it including stamp duties in entering into such agreement shall be deemed for purpose of clauses hereof be to be part of cost of completing works contractors certificate as to hiring provision contractor certificates to hiring provision contractor shall upon requests made by engineer at whatever time in relation to whatever item of essential hired plant or hired plant forthwith notify to engineer in writing the name and address of owner thereof and shall certify that agreement for hire thereof contains the provision in accordance with requirements of this clause. Contractor shall also, upon request as foresaid, give a like notification but without certificate. In regard to whatever whatever hire purchase plant, contractor shall also upon request made by contractor now contractor's certificate as hiring provision is important issue and it must be taken seriously and Contractor shall, upon request by engineer at whatever time relation to whatever item of essential hired plant forthwith notify to engineer in writing name and address of owner thereof and certify that agreement for hire thereof contains a provision in accordance with requirement of this clause. Contract shall also, upon request, as a first, give like notification, but without certificate in regard whatever hire purchase plant. Contract shall also, upon request made by engineer, provide engineer with a two copy of such agreement. So then we go to hire purchase payments by PWA. Hire purchase payment by PWA. That's what to think of. It's very important. You know, owner shall in order to avoid seizure. Owner shall, in order to avoid seizure by owner of whatever essential hired plant or hire purchase plant be entitled to pay to such owner amount of whatever overdue installment or other sum payable under whatever agreement relating to such plant, and in event of his doing so, whatever amount paid by it shall be adapted due from contractor to PWA or owner and may be deducted irremovable immovability of the certain plant, irremovability of certain plant. Just a minute, please. You can read this. I'll be back in a couple of minutes, which is the daily requirement, and it is essential one. If it works fine, or maybe it's off here, I will see what to do. 5 minutes, please. Go and come back. This daily routine. Reminder, please. 6 a.m. in the morning. I go for 5 minutes. My legs are jammed. Fine, it's working, no problem. You can say irremovable humidity of certain plant. Irremovability of certain plant can say no construction plant, temporary work or materials or whatever part or any part thereof shall be removed from site without written consent of engineer, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld where same is no longer immediately required for purposes of completion of works, but owner shall permit contractor exclusive use of all such construction plant, temporary works and materials in and for completion of works until occurrence of whatever event which gives owner right to exclude contractor from site and proceed with completion of works. No construction plant, temporary works or materials or any part thereof shall be removed from site without written consent of engineer, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld where same is no longer immediately required. जिस प्लांट की, जिस टेम्पररी वर्क की, जिस मटेरियल की जो साइट पर है वो उठाया नहीं जाएगा, हटाया नहीं जाएगा कॉन्ट्रैक्टर द्वारा जब तक कि इंजीनियर से कॉन्सेंट ना ले लिया, रिटर्न कॉन्सेंट, लिखी हुई कॉन्सेंट. बट ऑनर shall permit contractor exclusive use of all such construction plant, temporary works and materials in and for completion of works until occurrence of whatever event which gives owner right to exclude contractor from site and proceed with completion of works. Important paragraph I give again. No constructional plant, temporary works or materials or any part thereof shall be removed from site without written consent of engineer, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld where same is no longer immediately required for purposes of completion of works. But owner shall permit contractor exclusive use of all such constructional plant, temporary works and materials in and for completion of works until occurrence of whatever event that gives owner right to exclude contractor from site and proceed with completion of works. Revesting, removal and failure to remove plants. This is another clause and this is also important. Clause hereof revest in contractor who shall remove same together with whatever essential hired plant, whatever purchase plant. If contractor fails to remove any or whatever contracts construction plant, temporary work or materials as aforesaid, or whatever essential hired plant or hired purchase plant within such reasonable time, after completion of works as may be allowed by engineer. Return at contractor's expense to person, firm or company from whom whatever essential hire plant or hire purchase plant was held by contractor, such essential hire plant or hire purchase plant. And after deducting from whatever proceeds or sale, cost charges due from contractor to owner and shall be deductible and recoverable by owner accordingly as aforesaid. Means certain issues are very important regarding plants, hire plants and all that. हमें समझना होगा, हमको जब डील करना है, हमें जब साइट पे डील करना है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पे, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को एडमिनिस्टर करना है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को एक्सिक्यूट करना है, प्रोसिक्यूट करना है, ये सब बातें हम जो कर रहे हैं एक दिन में नहीं होती हैं, पूरा टर्म लग जाता है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का टर्म। कहीं हम फंस जाते हैं, कहीं हम निकल जाते हैं और फिर कॉस्ट इम्पैक्ट आ जाते हैं, टाइम इम्पैक्ट आ जाते हैं। वी हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ ऑल दिस बिकॉज time based cost and cost based time both are there. These are all resources we are talking of. We are resources of plants, resources of hired plants, resources of ownership plant, resources of materials, resources of human one, and all these combined in combination in lines work together on projects, and that care we have to take. We have to take every care about this. So I'll limit today to this one, and closely will continue next time. By that time, I thank you very much. We'll come back again.